Hey everyone, so today I wanted to bring you a quick video on how to play Argent Saga online. I did a video on how to play over the internet in person if you have actual physical cards, but if you don't and you want to test something out, we do have something called Untap. Now I know a lot of people, it's not super user friendly, so it's a little overwhelming if you don't know the ins and outs of it, which can I guess get you to avoid to play online. I was kind of like that, but I did join the online ACQ and I was pleasantly surprised at how easy this actually is to use. It is, like I said, not user friendly. There's a lot of manual work, but still, the fact that you can play this game online without needing any of the actual cards and still win prizes through the online locals that Kalen does, or I think the company is going to start doing more and more online things, sanctioned, so you'll be able to get actual rewards there. So that's pretty neat. But I just wanted to go over some of that stuff and how to actually use Untap so you guys can join those online locals and play. So let's get into that. First, I apologize for the poor sound. I am not at my house. I haven't been for a while. I've been staying with my fiance during this whole quarantine thing, so kind of just hanging out with her. So I'm limited on what I have to do editing and recording, but this is what I got. So anyway, the first thing you're going to want to do is go to untap.in, and you'll need to make a user account and all that stuff. But once you do, all you're going to do is then click on the Decks button up at the top there, and you're going to come over here and you're going to hit Create Deck. Now when you do that, you see Argent Saga here is something that I used often, so it automatically defaults to that. But if yours doesn't, you just click on the Argent Saga thing, and then type in your deck name, and then hit Create Deck. So once you're in here, you can search for any kind of card you want, and this is another, I guess, downside of Untap is you need to physically search all of your cards. At least that's what I'm aware of. Someone who's a little more well versed in Untap might be able to help, but this is just the basics. So if you wanted to, add, I don't know, Aragon to your deck, you have the actual champion, which you can hover over this card. Oh, sorry, here. The champion here, where you can actually hover this little icon and see the actual card on the right there. So if you wanted to have Aragon as your champion, what you would do is drag it into the starts in play little tab here. The other annoying thing about Untap is it automatically puts things at 3, so you'll have to decrease that to 1 if you want, and then you would also put your spirit in the starts in play. Then everything else is starts in main deck, so if you want to run 3 Aragon, Forgiven Emissary in your main deck, you would do that. So right now, it's showing the cards in my main deck are 3, and then 1 of this. So it'll show you how many unique cards you have, and then your total cards in deck. You also have your shards deck, which that's where you will put your shards. And I'll show you what this all looks like after we're done building it and what it looks like in game. But you would add your standard shards in here, and you obviously want to put that to 10 or whatever you want to run Argent wise. Starts in hand, nothing, discard nothing, exile. So your face down pile or exile is where you're going to want to put your towers, because you'll have to manually move them onto the field and then shuffle them and all that stuff. But that's pretty much how you make a deck. I will go back and just show you what a finished deck looks like. So this is what it will look like. After you've put all of your cards in, you'll have your starts in play, which is your champion and your spirit. And then you'll go through starts in the main deck, which is your main, and then you have your shard deck. And then I had the exile here for my towers. So yeah, so once your deck's done, you'll want to save it, which you'll have that option. Like if I were to make a change to this, the save button would come up. But if you try and go back, it'll ask you to save anyway. So then once you have your deck, what you'll do is you'll go into Games, and you'll click New Game, or if someone's playing, a game will show up here. So go into New Game, If you want to just test what the deck looks like, you can hit solo, or you can do 2 players. So here I'll just put Zeppelin test, and then we will start the game. Click enter game, and then you choose which deck you want. So if you have a bunch of decks, you'll choose now which one you want to use. So we'll use the finished one. So as you see here, my champion and my spirit start in play there, which is nice. And then my towers are right here. So in this game, what you'll want to do is you have your cards here. And if you have a pile of cards, like in the exile or over here I have my shard deck, you'll have these options that allow you to do whatever you would need to do in a regular game. You can find cards specifically. You can look at certain top cards. You can show your last card. You can scoop. You can shuffle. And then you can also draw. You can draw one here, or you can draw multiples, like in your starting hand. You can play stuff face down. You can automatically discard it. All of those fun things. So all of that's in here. But the first thing is with your towers, if they're in the exile, what you want to do is you want to play these. So you can play them individually, like I showed you before, where if you just play one, you can do that, or you can play multiples. I got 3 left here. So that brings them all out, right? So once you have your towers out here, what you're going to want to do is put them all kind of lined up like you would have your towers. And then they all need to go face down. So what you can do is you can go here and click it face down. But if you have a collection of cards on the field that you all want to do the same thing, you can just hover over all of them. And then this option comes up. And then you can just flip all of them face down at the same time, which is nice. And then you can go back over and hover all over them again. And then shuffle them if you wanted to. Okay, so that way it's all randomized and your opponent doesn't know and you don't know what your towers are. Now, whenever your opponent attacks your towers, you would just hover over the card and go to this triple stack thing here and then flip it face up. And you'll show the Tower of Light there. Now, if it's destroyed, you can come over to the pivot option here and then flip it 180 degrees. So it's all very simple. I thought it was going to be overwhelming whenever I was playing, but once you actually get it, it's very simple. So that's how to kind of move things on the board. You can add counters to show that you've used your champion's ability for the turn, or if you want to count counters on something like Luna, you can just continuously click that button and it counts the counters. So that's something that you can do. For your deck, what you'll do here is you can draw multiples. So if you start with 5 in your opening hand, you'll draw 5, and then your opponent doesn't see them. And then if you wanted to mulligan, you go over to the card and then hover over it, and then you'll see this kind of card on top of a card. And main deck here allows you to put it on top or on the bottom. So then you can put this on the bottom and then draw an extra for your mulligan. So all of that is very simple. This is your hand options here. So just like you have the triple stacks over here, you have your triple stack for your hand. You can shuffle your hand. You can reveal your hand to your opponent if they use something like Imp where they get to see your hand. You can then conceal all of them again. You can also go one by one and reveal them if you wanted to. There's a lot of options here. Like I said, you kind of just got to walk through this and see everything that's available to you. Yeah, it's very simple, guys. I just want you to just go through and play around with it. I'm giving you all the basics, some kind of shortcuts, but you really should walk through it. This is your shard deck. So instead of drawing one, you want to go up to play one. So at the beginning of your turn, you'll go to your charge phase, and then you'll set your shard over here, and then just pivot 90 for a tap. So that's very simple. And then on your untap, if you wanted, like let's say you had a bunch of cards out here that were all tapped, right? And at the beginning of your turn, you didn't want to have to physically tap all of the cards. So go back and like unpivot everything. You can just come over to this little icon here and it says untap all and it'll untap everything. So that is a little shortcut. You also have your die over here. So if you wanted to roll at the beginning, I rolled a d20 for 7. If your opponent is typing here on what they're doing, a lot of times in the online local we do chat rooms, so it's easy. You can declare when you're in attack step and all of that stuff. It makes it easier to do that rather than type everything out. But if your opponent is saying, hey, I want to enter combat, you can click this little button here, the no response, and just say, okay, that's good to go. If you're typing, yeah. So that's kind of like the basics, guys. It's very simple. Don't be afraid of it. It's something that if you go in and you just run through a couple solo runs here, I guarantee you won't be overwhelmed and you'll want to play in the online locals. So I highly encourage that, as it looks like we're going to be, even after we get out of lockdown, things aren't going to be going back to normal as soon as we would like. So I don't know when the next big scale event is going to be for this game, so you might as well get on the online locals and have the entire card pool at your disposal and, try and win some prizes. But that's it, guys. I hope this helped. It was just a little introduction to Untap. It's not the greatest system, but I know the ARG team is going to discuss with the Untap team and maybe make things a little more user-friendly. So that's very nice that they're wanting to help the player base. But get used to it, and join those online locals. Oh, one last thing. Here, whenever you're done with your turn, you need to hit the end phase thing, so untap doesn't kick you out. If you and your opponent just keep passing when you're on like voice chat and saying, hey, it's your turn, you really need to hit that unstep, that end phase, and then end turn button, or the game's going to kick you out and you don't want that. But that's my last thing. I hope this helped, and like I said, go out there and play on the online locals, guys. It's a lot of fun. The community's great. Be a part of it. All right, thanks. This is Zeppelin signing out.